So I got an email this weekend. These are great emails to have. Hey, throwing a big event. Listen, love when people are doing grand openings. And this was from Isabel in the
Yeah,
group.
same.
Have,
Yeah.
Having a grand opening. She's loving Slick V2. Says it's outperforming. It's got glossier, better than anything she's used. She's like, okay, I'm not a distributor though. Can I just get some to sell? And I'll go, what a great question. I bet there's a
Sure.
lot of people that wonder, hey, I got this event coming. I got this car show. Hey, I know that there's my customers have been talking about this. And you go, there's a chance, and I love Slick. Could I grab just some and sell at this event? That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we're gonna say is keep price integrity. If you wanted to do some giveaways at your event, obviously do some giveaways, some packages, things like that. We understand. We sell our 16 ounce almost across the board, not every single product, but for 19.99, keep that going. But there is a program that helps pro shops not only save on their chemicals for their shop, but very easily allows you to gain a little bit of percentage to sell something like Slick V2 or foam wash or whatever product you want to sell. It's our pro program, and use Pro 20 at checkout. And as long as you have a final price of over $1,000, you get free shipping. You get 20% off your whole order. So we know not everyone's ready for the step to distribution. Okay. For some people who are just getting their start, their shop's just opening, they're just getting there and going, they're not ready to take it on. They just don't see it for them. We've created the pro program. And so the pro program is a perfect fit for that.
It's new though, yeah. I think some people are listening, going, "Wait, the what program?"
Yeah, I mean, look, we do our best to post in our group, to put a banner on our website, to do our best to educate about it. Obviously, we've sent emails about the launch of the pro program, so there's a lot of ways we try to get in touch with everybody. If you're not in our newsletter, go to the website and put your email in. Get on our newsletter. Go to the specialist group. Listen to the podcast. But we have talked about it quite a bit through our channels, including Instagram, including YouTube shorts, including all these different things. So it's been out there for roughly, 4 to 6 weeks probably. And we have a lot of people taking advantage of it, but you do have to kind of pay attention to our channels, different ways that we get in contact with people for you to probably know that it exists.
Now, people should check out the cool graphics, the look, the slickness. Like, you guys did an awesome job on the way everything looks. The new stuff coming out. I think people are going to look at that and go, "Wow!" And then they're going to see the free shipping. And they're going to go, "What? Free
Yeah.
shipping today? Like in today's world, free shipping is awesome."
On a lot of products, right? Meaning like, to get free shipping, and you see a lot of companies struggling with this, and you and I've talked behind the scenes for a few years. There's a lot of companies that have harmed themselves long term because they're in a situation where they didn't understand how much shipping was eating into their company. I mean, we know this specifically about some large companies you and I have contacts inside of. And so think about this. I mean, you place a $1,000 or more order, you get 20% off the order. And we have found a way through our shipping partners to be able to offer good shipping, get it to you. We eat the cost. This is the kind of program if you're about to have a grand opening, but I would say you're a mobile guy, you're a shop, you know, just somebody that cleans cars, details cars as a side hustle. Saving 20% in free shipping, Pro 20 at checkout, it's kind of a no brainer.
And I think when we have these discussions, you always got to talk about that stuff. But behind the scenes, I love you and I when we talk about all the things that went into just those moments, right? We can easily just talk about the graphics show up and, that looks just great. But you guys did a lot of work. We'd also talk about, hey, you can get free shipping, but geez, we we love the idea of how we're able to get stuff out as fast as possible and at economically as best as possible too. It's both sides. It's the graphics and listen, those boxes. I
Yeah.
just always got to keep bragging on the box because we just had to do another order, right? Another big, huge order of all these custom boxes because so much stuff is going out. And you go, because you guys have done your side, because we've done our side, it's cool how then the community, which is what we always talk about, like the people that use and the people that are part get to benefit of such great options.
Yeah, and I think we are just starting, first of all, guys, we've been at this still right now less than 5 years. right? So that is not an excuse or to let us off the hook, but we're just now starting to hit our stride with good team members behind the scenes, people that can bring ideas, people that we can partner with to help us take things to, our box manufacturer. That wasn't available to us 4 years ago. Just wasn't. Now we have, semi trucks backing up with boxes. And guess what? Box manufacturers really love to talk to you when they can back a semi truck into your facility and you can take that level of box. And I mean, it just takes time. If any of you that are building any type of business out there, or you're in a management role, in whatever company you work for, you look around, you go, things just take time. And getting the right people, getting the right mix of people, getting people on the back end. We got apparel. I mean, we have apparel that's getting into the finishing touches now. Most of it's done. We got other shirts. We probably got 2 or 3 shirts behind the scenes. We got 2 or 3 hats designed. All of this just takes time. And the good thing is, it actually makes things better. If all this stuff just comes out quick, it's usually not very good. It's not very well done. It's not thought through. So it's just kind of all coming together after 4 years more than it is just something we did today or did in the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's definitely. All right, so here's an interesting question. I think it's going to have different sides for multiple people. I think it's one of those like questions kind of draws a line for some people. Okay, draws a line, and it should because it's kind of going to ask you where are you, what side do you want to be, and is there should be a side. Nick, do you think detailing is too strict?
I
Interesting, yeah,
mean,
strict. Interesting word there.
I mean, are we talking about the people that act certain ways on the internet? Is that, I guess, who we're talking about?
I'm just a question because I'm going to go. I think there's a lot of rules when it comes to detailing. I think there's going to be people. When you say people on the internet, I love the videos that you see the car washer or detailer, and it's like car
Sure.
washer does this, and they go throw something in a bucket, and then the detailer's foaming up a car, and you go, okay, yeah, that would be along the lines of somebody as a detailer, but I know there's plenty of detailers that also use a bucket, right?
Yeah.
So then you
Yeah.
you see the one. I think the big one's always they watch a towel fall on the ground and they go
Yeah.
car washer versus detailer. I go, okay, I guarantee you, besides Nick Walters, who said he's never done it,
Uh,
99% of all detailers has picked a towel up off the ground, looked
looked
at
on what
it,
looked
and
at
then
it and go,
reused it.
this'll work. Yeah, I mean, look, you know where we get with this stuff, and I think probably a lot of our listeners are tired of it. One that gets me is like how you hold a tool.
Mm.
Are you holding it
Mhm.
like this? Are you doing it like that? Do you use this type of tool or that type of tool? It's like, okay, man.
Listen,
Like,
what about the look of when you're holding the tool? It's not just how you hold it, which
oh yeah.
we got great videos on YouTube. We had the old dab stuff. That's all good. But
Yeah.
what about we watch? I go back to the MT when they were having that competition, and you'd see some guys just like, yeah. Then you see some like lean down, so they
Yeah.
could get that
Eh,
exact look, and they're like, look at me, this detailer with this look. Like
yeah, I think it's one of these things,
I do it.
man.
I
You
do
know.
it. I'm a look
Yeah.
guy. I make
Yeah,
sure.
we look, here's what I think personally. Right now, the conversation that we should be having in detailing, and I mean, even if you're a DIY, do it yourselfer, if you're a professional, a guy getting to start, guy that's been doing it 10 years, walk a parking lot and look at how many cars are in bad shape. We say this all the time. We need to entice people to just simply do the basics on the car. I know we all love the tool, the PPF, the elite level tint, the powder coating our wheels, and I'm with everybody on that. But when you have this idea of strictness, I think it just shows you how many people don't understand what 95, 98 plus percent of car owners, they don't even know where to start. They don't even have an idea. And so every time you try to make it harder to understand detailing, I think it hurts us bringing new people in the door. And at the end of the day, just because someone's new, I don't really look at it as a negative. I know you don't either. I want new people to come in and I want new people to learn about this stuff. But you get so down the line and so out in the weeds. And it's like, look, man, I love that as much as anybody, but somebody has to be out in the weeds to talk to. So that means they got to be that far along to be able to have an educated conversation in the weeds. What do you do with everybody that hasn't reached the weeds yet?
Well, they're just got to go to the next guy, right? That's what they always. That's what we always see. Well, send them down because I don't do that work, right? Go
Yeah, but I
down to
think
these
your
people
yeah,
because
your
I don't do
conversation
that.
though wasn't about the pro. I think it's just more general detailing. I don't think it's like pro versus pro. I think it's more how do we get people interested, which then eventually leads to them polishing paint, which is where everybody, wants everybody to get. How do we get people interested? And I don't think anybody's ever answered that question.
Gotcha. Okay, so not from the pro standpoint. That's a great perspective. From okay, let's just use somebody for example, right? Just somebody we all know. We like the guy Wesley. Put
Yeah,
Wesley in that, right? Like,
yeah,
would Wesley be considered, or would he want people to know that he's a detailer? It's interesting, right? Do you want to be known from other? Because he has people and friends. He's very popular around his area.
yeah,
Talks about people who will call him all the time. He
yeah,
does get paid to do some work. He does some work.
sure.
He's very thorough. I would call him a detailer by the look of his cars.
Yeah,
He would be a detailer. But do you want to get lumped in, right, with
yeah, it's
other
tough.
people that are called detailers?
Well, look, it's one of the reasons we started a car podcast. I mean, let's just be fair to everybody. Is like I've said on this podcast probably since the beginning, even when I wasn't a part of hyperCLEAN, like I'm involved in detailing because of cars. I'm not, it's not the other way around. I'm not in, I am in detailing so I can be around the cars. I'm not in detailing because I have some misnomer about how great detailing is, right? Like I like detailing a car. You like detailing a car. Me personally, I like being around the cars. I like seeing new stuff. I like seeing vintage stuff. I like being able to be around cars. And I think, when you look at it, the conversation can get real stale real fast. You know what I mean? Like, and
But if
guys,
I
we
clean
have
my car, it's clean, but is it detailed? I don't know. Like, why does
yeah,
it matter? It's
and,
clean.
and here and here's the deal: if you just use, and this is where you do take a guy like Wesley and go, he uses the right, processes, which means, he's operating on an elite level when he takes care of his stuff or a friend's stuff or, whatever. He does try to get better. He does try new things and see if he can refine his process. And that's all we should really ask of anybody. Let's get people into this thing on the basic level. This is kind of the conversation. I think maybe you and I have had it 3 or 4 times on this podcast. This is why when you talk about detailing and you go directly to compounding and polishing, you've already missed the 50 steps before that allows them to do that at a high level. We have skipped in detailing, in my opinion, proper wash technique, which then makes it hard for somebody to properly decontaminate paint, which then makes it hard for somebody to actually do a one step that works. So we tend in detailing, and I'm not, this is not a finger point at like quote unquote I mean, it's just the facts. We skip over the simple and then we go, well, that guy doesn't know what he's doing polishing. Yeah, but he didn't know how to wash a car either. I mean, he wasn't going to magically be an awesome guy, with the rotary in his hand. Like that wasn't going to happen. Those things don't go together.
So let's use this like real world example. So maybe people like Wesley that listen are like, hey, which way am I? Right? I got some pollen on the car. High pollen season right now.
Oh, dude, I was miserable for like, I'm still coming on it so bad here this year. I, hey, it wrecks me. Not only my cars, but hey, tough pollen season out here.
And what do? Right? There's the question. You got pollen on your car. What's your move? And that kind of starts out, which direction are you? Because like some people are gonna be like, well, I'm gonna go grab my California duster.
Oh, you ain't lying. Hey, and by the way, it's your car. If you're doing that to your car, whatever, dude. I mean, we can all have the joke at that expense. I'll tell you this during pollen season, I, I'm kind of out of the rinseless game. I mean, the only rinseless I did during this pollen season, we'll have a video coming out where I just show people messing around with my BMW really quickly because I had some drives planned with some guys that I hadn't caught up with in a while.
How driving with
Is
dudes, huh?
that I mean, who else you gonna? I mean, you got to go on. You got to go on a spirited drive. I know you don't go very fast in the Jeep, dog. So there's no passing in the Jeep. Here's where we're at though. Is that was inside of my garage for like 2 months. And the only time that I drove it was from my house to the shop to do the rinseless video, and then after I drove it on some spirited drives, I go, well, this can't be rinseless washed at the house. Like it was outside too long at that point. And I'm like, and we went to like a little road track, thing that we have. It's about 30 minutes from my house. And I'm like, well, this can't be rinseless washed. So I'm really particular about pollen. Like,
That so there is interesting, right? So Mildred, we've had this conversation inside. So I had it also with my buddy Stuart, who came, took me out for my birthday. Thanks for everybody that sent me birthday wishes. He drove in from Oklahoma City. He needed to drive his Porsche, wanted to do it. He's a Porsche guy, right? So he's one of
yeah,
those guys. We get through with lunch, and I go, hey man, pull it in. Let me give it a quick wash. I'm working on this rinseless. It's pretty much finished. I just want to put it on. Let me see it. Oh, no way. No, no. Like, he's a traditional wash guy.
yeah,
Would not let me touch his car with a rinseless wash. So, is right. That could be one of those. Like, this is what the purpose of the conversation is. Just we're never going to get anywhere. You can't
yeah.
really draw a
You're just
line.
shooting the shit. Yeah,
It's just making fun of and having a good time to go. Where do people say that you're a detail? Because I would never say he's a detailer, but
yeah.
he's very thorough.
Well, here's the
He's
thing.
also the guy, he's also the guy when we were in high school told me to put acid on my chrome rims because they would clean better and stripped my chrome rims and they turned rusty and were horrible
Well,
the
I got
rest of
news for you. You had a problem with those chrome rims because nothing works on chrome like an acid. So if Stuart's listening to this, you were right. Marty had some cheap chrome. Hey, do you remember those old
probably.
like
It's an
Lincoln
F10.
limos?
I
You
mean,
remember those old
probably.
yeah, do you remember those old Lincoln limos that had the real shiny chrome wheels?
Mhm.
Dude, if you sprayed acid on that and just rinsed it off, those would like blind you if it was sunny outside. So for everybody listening, it's not raw aluminum that we're talking about here. We're literally talking about old school chrome. Nothing worked better than acid. So, Stuart, I'm going to defend you. Your buddy had some shit chrome rims and he's blaming you. Acid worked on chrome. But I'll say this you and I have talked about, Stuart and his ownership and some cars he's bought. When you look at his car, it probably looks pretty good. He cares about it. And that's where I think detailing needs to
He
step in and
stacked
go,
it. Right
yeah,
before he did, he sent me photos of this long trip through Arkansas. He wanted to go through the winding roads,
yeah,
had some days off. So he put stack on it. We're like, awesome.
yeah. So that to me, that professional detailing is professional detailing, and that is what it is. But for everybody and all of us, we need to celebrate people who are just trying to give that next level of shit that most people don't do, so we can advance them through and teach them better stuff and teach them about new stuff. So yeah, I mean, when I think, going back to your question, is this too strict? Yeah, man, but that's just the way it's gonna be. And if you guys go to the specialist group, or do you see kind of the style of video that we're trying to transition to, if you guys want to see me screw up camera colors and stuff like on today's video, go check that out. That's me trying to figure out a camera. Here's the deal, man. What we're trying to do is just be an outlet for you to go check out some videos about, doing stuff to a car, and it's not always going to be this big long process or telling you how to do things, but you can pick up a ton just watching videos and just hanging out with somebody on a YouTube channel and going, hey, let me it's just like the one bucket method that I've been made aware that some individuals are now trying to act like that's how they've always been doing it when their channel says otherwise. But uh here's the deal: is pick up the little stuff, and I think you'll just keep advancing. It can be too strict at times. I mean, we all know that. I mean, let's just say it out loud. It can just be a little bit of a stuffy room at times in this detailing space, which why I'm thrilled about talking about cars once a week now on Clutch Culture. It's just sometimes, man, this stuff just gets a little stuffy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So you mentioned the specialist group. We try not to be stuffy in there. We definitely try
Yeah.
not to. Uh, we try and have fun. There's some great PLPs. Nick sent me a PLP that I'm going to put on.
Hey, we
Definitely,
got we got
definitely.
a T-shirt we're trying to put a PLP on, so everybody stay tuned.
I love the question inside of the group where they were asking you about a steakhouse, right? What's
Oh
a
yeah.
great steakhouse to go to? So if detailing, let's say detailing's a steakhouse, and we're thinking meat, right? Think of that analogy for a minute. Where do most of us want to fall in? Where do we want to be? Do you want to be the steakhouse? Do you want to be Ruth Chris with something else asked? Do you want to be McDonald's that sells hamburgers fast
Yeah.
as can be? Right? Like this is when I've always thought about these questions, or I thought about what do I want to be? I always try to think about some other industry or some other thing, and I go, inside of that industry, I wonder what I would want to be, and then maybe that would help me put into this. I think when people go, should I be a detail or car wash? I go, hey, listen, taco trucks. What about a taco like a wash? Like think of like a car wash next to a taco truck. Like
Yeah.
how cool would that be? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that doesn't go
Yeah,
too
I think I look at this, man. This, and we're talking to the professional now. Is you do have to identify what you're going to do. It doesn't mean you have to identify it from minute one when you start your business. I mean, nobody really has it all figured out then. But there's guys 3 or 4 plus years into their career, and they've convinced themselves, it's quality over quantity. Well, then, funny thing is, all those quality guys end up training people at their facility.
well.
And it's like, I thought you were all about doing quality work and it was just about the work and it was the work. And then all of a sudden they're like trainers full time and then, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you got to know the limitations of all of it, right? So you go to a really busy high end steakhouse, guess what they have? A lot of people in there. So there is a way to do high end and still get volume. Uh, Detailing is no different. You do have to protect your quality. You do have to understand what you have to cut, what can stay, how do you do it, how do you provide things. But I would say this: there's really like a very simple business philosophy that most people never ever realize is that you either want to be the highest end or you want to be the lowest price. You want to be
Great
the
point.
highest price or
Great
the
point.
lowest price.
Mhm.
When you're caught in the middle, which is where we find 99% of small businesses in any field, they struggle. And that's why 7 out of 10 businesses, I think, fail within 5 to 7 years. Another 20% are not even worth owning. So you got 9 out of 10 small businesses that are not actually even worth owning, right? By the statistics, not by our opinion. And so when you look at this, you go, guys, you're going to have to make a decision. All of us have to make it. If you want to do more volume work at a lower price and you want to crank things out, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to crank work out on the high end, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't be the guy in the middle that just goes because you're the one that's going to get squeezed, right? Because you have no way to stand out in the market. And that's where people look, we've all made the mistake. You made the mistake. I made the mistake when I started my business. I didn't understand what I was doing, but I also didn't have podcasts like this and, the levels of business information that was available publicly. You do have to be cautious about a lot of that stuff because it is bad information. But I do think it's an interesting conversation.
It is. And I mean, when we're thinking decisions, because as things come to our mind, we got to decide on something, there's always a risk. Okay. There's always risk involved. You and I know this, is we all know it, right? We all know whichever direction of whatever we choose, there's always going to be a risk. So thinking about it, because I've seen these posts, and here was one we've all seen these posts. This is one in particular. There's a couple different levels I want to talk about. And because I see this one, it says first ever detail for money. First of all, cool, man. Great job. He's
Yeah.
getting in, he's in the game.
Yeah.
He's decided. So he's got minimal supplies. He's going to start with friends and family, seeing if he can make it as a side gig. Even better, right? You would
Yeah.
probably even say even better than jumping in full boat like I did, right? These are conversations you and I have on a regular basis because we
Yep.
know that there's so many people getting into the industry now, and you and I were different. I jumped ship from the job I had and went straight in blind. You had a much safer, less risk
Yeah,
way of
I'd
doing that.
actually done the job. I'd
Yeah,
actually,
I
you
know.
know, I'd
I
worked
was
for
this guy.
people.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean, so everybody, we got a lot of new people here. So everybody knows my story. I started detailing in 1998, about 3 months before I had my driver's license, and pretty much carried that in some form or fashion working for somebody until about 2010. And so late 2009, I should say. I still did some contract work for people, when I got started, that companies that knew to hire me and things like that. So, uh, no starting of business is safe, but I did know what I was doing. I did have a process. I had been taught how to detail a car. I had sanded vehicles. I had, compound and polished vehicles, of all different sorts, from classics to everyday, cars, things like that. So I had a different entry than a lot of guys. And so let's go to this guy's post and let me kind of tell people my opinion. You can make a lot of money right now working for companies. Nobody's been paid higher. I certainly wasn't paid as well as people are getting paid now to go in and learn the trade of detailing or PPF or tint. So for a lot of us, especially if you're going to do it full time, there's nothing wrong going for a year or two and going and learning how to do this thing and seeing if it's what you want to do. By the way, you're getting paid the whole time. That's a plus. But for this guy doing it on the side, I think there's one warning sign. I got limited supplies. That's a problem. Okay. Here's why it's a problem. It's not because I'm trying to sell this guy anything. Obviously, he doesn't know that we're talking about him. We're just pulling a post that we saw. But the thing that people don't realize is that it's very hard to overcome business as a whole, but then putting yourself really behind the eight ball and then trying to succeed in business, it's damn near impossible. So if you have a job and the job doesn't allow you to buy supplies for your side gig, you sort of have a double whammy problem there, don't you?
yeah, basically what you're saying is if you've got a full time job, but you don't have any money left over to buy 20, 50, $100 worth of stuff, you probably should focus on your
Yeah, you
job
should probably
making more,
focus on your quote
or
unquote
focus on
career.
your spending habits, right?
Yes,
Like
true.
this is where so many people. This is the benefit of dealerships. They'll go, hey, if you cut out 1 cup of coffee a day,
Yeah,
that
hey, don't you love the cup of coffee line? It's like,
but it's a
bud,
great.
just
It
just
is
let me
perfect for people to realize, right? Like maybe I'm not trying to buy a car, but I'm trying to do a side gig here. What can I cut out? This is a big one you and I have joked about. You know, the amount of we'll go back to cable, your point, but the amount of subscriptions, right? Or
Oh,
the
dude,
amount
it's
of
crazy.
whatever we have, you got to look at that and go, hey, because if this guy's is side gig, what do I need to make then? 500 bucks, 1,000. You should easily be able to make 500 bucks in a month cleaning people's cars. That
Oh,
should be
yeah,
the easiest,
I
should be
I think I
super easy.
think that's see, you and we've talked about this a lot, and the power of the side gig for all of you that have, like, a firefighter buddy, this is the
Ah,
the
yeah.
the the thing you
Mhm,
and I always talk about because they work
mhm,
24 on, 48 off or whatever, and they all have a landscaping business,
mhm.
a pool business, a deck business,
Roofing,
whatever business, okay?
fencing.
And they usually make more money than they make as a firefighter,
Mhm.
once they get up and rolling, right? And so, side gig's a very powerful thing if done properly, right? And this is where we get into, and there's a lot of younger people that I see online. This isn't like said to me, but I see people bring up the cup of coffee thing, and these people just, it's not that expensive. I can't buy a house if I just cut out. I get that part, but I mean, if you go to Chipotle today, are you eating for less than 15, 20 bucks? I mean, not where I live. Maybe somebody will argue with that. I mean, and that happens for some people twice a day,
The
at different
guys the guy
places.
the guys here, so at HQ, we had some issues, had some plumbing issues,
Yeah, we need to
right?
have some. We needed to have some contracting.
And had some contract. Every one of the work, every single person took a lunch break, went somewhere and ate.
Yep.
I listen, it's not for us to ever say, right? Shut us, but if somebody says, I want to start a side gig, I want to know how I can do it. You also got to wonder, how can I get myself more fuel, right?
Yeah, and
Like the
money's fuel, right? I mean,
money
this
is
is this is
fuel.
kind of what we're saying, and this is what I've hated about small business advice since I became aware of how bad it was. There's only one thing that matters in business, and it's the money that's in your business that allows you to pay your people well, that allows you to take care of your customers well, that allows you to do new things and expand. So we can bring all of these things up from time to time and talk about how having a purpose is important and this is important and that. Folks, there's nothing more important than money in business. So anybody that tells you different is just trying to sell you on something, sell you on a catchphrase or a buzzword. And so you're starting it at a side hustle, or you're a person listening to this and you're in your shop and you're going, things aren't going well. You got to find the money, because if you don't find the money, it's not going to get better. And if you start a side hustle and you already got to do it on a shoestring budget, that's where I think your points are. Are you willing to eat spaghetti for a few months? Okay, because I did that. I just tell people my first couple years in business, it didn't look pretty. What I was eating. It wasn't the most nutritious. It was the cheapest. What kept me full. There was no vacations, there was no long weekends, there was no buying cars. The only cars I bought were on purpose to flip and make money on. I wasn't driving, my dream cars or any of those things. I didn't have car payments. I didn't have a massive house payment. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment that was very affordable. At the end of the day, this is the kind of stuff people don't say out loud, which is, how much do you really want to make this thing work? And I can't answer that for anybody, just like you can't, right? I mean, none of us can answer it for the next person. What I find is people tell themselves they want to make it, but then it's cut off the subscriptions, stop eating out, sell a car that you can't afford, all the things you'd have to do to make it. And they're like, well, I'm not doing that.
I'm
It's
not
like, okay, cool. Then you just really don't want to make it. And that's okay. Like, I'm not judging you, but it's pretty cut and dry in that way.
Yeah. All right. So after people get going for a while, right? You see this question. They might have been around for, I don't know. You don't really know, but you see this progression. And here's the next level, I think, right? And here was the post. Says, I took a massive risk yesterday. Love it. Great. Which could have destroyed everything I've been working towards.
Hmm. You've gotten those
uh,
phone calls.
Here, we can all wonder what it is, right? I won't even have to go over the rest of it. Took out a polisher. I'm gonna go polish this car. Never done it before. Massive risk. Could have destroyed everything I've been working for. And I go, hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute. Is there a bit of overinflation from this guy's massive risk? Not really doing enough education because he even says, you know, I was okay because I went to YouTube and watched Nick. No, he didn't say Nick. He said he went to YouTube and was educated, right? He got that YouTube degree. So
Yep.
he felt confident. I go, okay, let's pause. I know a lot of people will jump in with their own.
Oh yeah.
I
People are
think if you
getting
got a
people are getting real
DA,
fired up right now when you're
right,
telling
you're
this
real
story.
fired up, and I'm gonna get some wind to that fire, not smoke, but wind. I think if you got a DA in today's world, you don't have zero risk.
Yeah, I mean,
You have
you'd have to
zero
be
risk.
pretty egregious. You'd have to put the pad on wrong, the pad goes flying off, and your backing plates on the paint, right? I
I
mean,
mean,
that'd
if
be
you can
kind of like,
put that on and you can put some product on, and it
yeah,
doesn't matter if you dab or you do whatever,
yeah,
the only real risk I think you have at that point is if you use the wrong product and you go over trim. Good news
yeah.
though, we just
We
came
got
out
trim
with trim
cleaner.
cleaner and you'll be good to go.
Look at it. Look at Mr. Salesman over there at HQ. He's been locked in the back with some fumes, so he's all hyped up. You know what? It's not a risk, but it is stupid. I mean, it is stupid to have your first, polishing experience on a paying customer's car. Like, it's okay that both of those can be true. What you said is true. It's very low risk. What I said is true, which is it's kind of okay to just go practice. Now, the funny thing is this guy was probably mobile, I'm guessing. You had a vehicle to get there. Why didn't you practice polishing on the vehicle that you drove there? I mean, is that great? Is that great? Marty's like dying laughing.
All right,
Is
he's
that
the
a
guy that goes
crazy
to the
thought?
casino, just walks in and throws it all in. Like,
Yeah.
come
It's
on, I'm
like,
just the guy's on roulette. He's about to roll, and you go, I'm throwing it all on black. Like,
yeah, here's all my
what?
bank account. It's like, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. We could have eased into this. But look, people don't think about this stuff. You want to practice polishing, man. Most of you have a car. Practice on it. Don't go practice on somebody paying you. There is low risk in DA, by the way. Like I said, you'd have to have something catastrophic happen with the tool. You'd have to be completely irresponsible, not move the tool for like, 3 or 4 minutes out of one spot and just, totally bubble the paint from heat. I mean, you'd have to really do something egregious. If you watched YouTube, whether that's the right thing to do or not, it'd be pretty hard to do irreparable damage with a DA and some a pad and whatever. I mean, one
You
of
think
the
the
things
bigger
that go ahead.
the bigger risk would be not knowing that with the results, not that there's going to be damage to the car, which was this guy. He was like, "Hey man, no problems, everything." I think the risk of this port is going. Listen, you don't know what you're doing, so you don't even know what to tell the customer of how
Yeah,
much is
that's a
going to
good
come
point.
out. I would hate. Listen, for me, I wouldn't do it because I would hate to do it, and then the guy walk out and go,
Hey,
I
hey,
thought you
hey,
polished it."
I've done this before. This isn't what my last car looked like from a professional that retired that I knew he knew
Oh,
what he was doing, right?
right?
And so this is the new age, man. I just had this conversation a few times in the last week with some companies we're working with behind the scenes that I'll tell you, man, people believe YouTube solves all their problems. Whether we all want to agree with that or not, or we want to judge that or not, I know people who will sit at a table in a public setting and act like an expert on a subject because all they did was watch a YouTube video. I mean, I mean, if you're around cars enough, the car business enough, you've sat at a table, watched a guy parrot something you also watched on the internet and know it's wrong in the car business, and this guy parrots it with you around, and you go, "Yeah, I saw that video too, bud. That just isn't true." That you realize that guy's an idiot, and then their face goes white, and you go, "What? You're an accountant, Jim. Why'd you decide to do that?" Like, what? You know what I mean? So the same thing happens in detailing. This guy got an immense amount of confidence going to YouTube. We all can think what we want to think, but here's the other side of that. It's more important than ever that we accept it and that people that know a little bit about this business and how to take care of cars start making YouTube videos, because I can say with immense confidence that most detailing content that you and I have been sent or we've seen on our own is being made by people with little to no experience actually doing this job. And that's their right to do that. You and I don't get pissed off about that. I know a lot of people listening do. I know a lot of professionals do. But guys, at some point, you just have to accept that this is the world we live in. And unfortunately, that's where you get a guy saying, "Hey, a guy just handed me $1,000 and I just polished his cars. First time I ever held a polisher." That's how it happens. What you hope is, oh my God, who did he watch? Right? What lane did he go down? How bad was the information? How good could the information have been? That's where it gets kind of dark. But again, we need to stop fighting this YouTube thing and we need to realize it's not going anywhere. Social media education's going nowhere. Regardless if it happens in if you're listening to this 10 years from now, which by the way, people will text me or DM us and say that they're listening to episodes that you and I were doing 5 years ago. So it's not crazy for me to say somebody could be listening to this episode 5 years from now and it's not YouTube anymore. It's this other platform. The point is, the next platform is always going to exist. We're not going to get it out of the ecosystem.
All right, here's I guess the pinnacle level, the last final level is ceramic coating, PPF tint, right? Like the big
Yep.
top, right? The
Yep.
top dogs. Now I didn't, ceramic coating. there's a lot of people that are scared still. I think I know I still hear people talking, very concerned about coatings and what they do or don't do, or can I do it or can I not do it. You still see that, you do, and I
Hmm.
I find that to be interesting. That is there much risk with applying and being somebody that puts on my own car or somebody else's car really is just the aesthetics, right? Like, because if you mess up and leave the high spot, which we talked about in a recent
You're going
episode,
to see it.
you're going to see it, but then you can just let it go, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You
you could technically leave it there. I mean, I know there's this big thing about staining the clear coat, and it's like that's all very over dramatized by people trying to sound smart on the internet. But here's what I would say: in as we sit here, April of 2025, to give it a timestamp, there's a lot of shops that punted on ceramic coating on the
Mhm,
professional level at a
mhm.
huge mistake to their business. If you're a consumer listening to this, the best thing you can do is have a coating applied to your paint in 2025, because most of us as consumers in the marketplace, not meaning us listening to this, because we just shared a video on hyperCLEAN store where my family vehicle is PPF'd head to toe plus stack on top of it. So I get some time with the vehicle. I mean, it's going to get PPF on it. It's going to get stack on it. It's going to get Sparta on it. It's going to get tray on it. I mean, that's going to be what I do. But there's a lot of people, like you said, very, 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 I think, confused, scared, use all the words. But I also want to tell people when waxes were popular, hand applied waxes, I knew car owners who were scared to do it. When there were hand applied sealants, I knew people scared to do it.
Great point.
I mean, there's people still that have heard a horror story about hand applied wax that somebody told 50 years ago,
Hmm.
that won't apply a wax to their car. They won't apply a coating. They won't apply a sealant because upon a time, a buddy left wax on it for like 32 years and then didn't know why he couldn't get it off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this has
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of
sure,
always
yeah.
been in the ecosystem. And so for all of us to think, and we try to bring this up from time to time, you think today is unique? No, I was there, and there's people been in this much longer than me. This has always been the issue. The adoption of the newer technology, but then what you realize is if that guy was around when waxes were around, he was scared to put a wax on his car. So then he didn't do that. Then he didn't do the sealant. Now he's not going to do the coating, and he's like, "Well, that stuff doesn't work." It's like, "Well, buddy, you didn't put a wax on your car, and it was the easiest thing in the world to do compared, to where we were 40, 50 years ago. Like, what are you talking about?" So, again, if you're a shop, if you're a mobile guy, you should be all in on coatings. And for all the shops that bailed on coatings because they thought PPF was super profitable, boy, oh boy, you and I have seen and heard about some financials that are real ugly in the PPF business as a whole. Not all, but a very large percentage get in at the end of 5 years and they're like, yeah, we made like 4.5% profit. It's like, yeah, man, you didn't know what you were doing. You know, why'd you punt on ceramic coating? And there's never a good answer. Okay. So even if you're a DIYer listening to this, even some very well run shops that look like they're got their shit together, they misunderstood the ceramic coating market, and some still misunderstand it today. It is the first thing that you should talk to a customer about. Number one, because it's good for a business, but number two, it's excellent for a customer. Easy to understand, it just works. It's much lower risk, lower maintenance than a PPF. People don't realize, man, I see so many bad PPF jobs. I don't see anywhere close to that bad of coating jobs on a number scale compared to PPF.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But I think there's a lot of detailers. I know I'm just some come to my mind just immediately that whether they're mobile, they go to a shop, or they're just automatically in a shop. They seem to be the next thing is once I get past coatings, I do want to go do tint and PPF. Now, I have never done PPF. I've worked at a tint shop. It was actually sort of my introduction into the industry in college. That was my summer job, was a tint shop. Didn't put down a lot of tint, don't get me wrong. I was the driver, right? I'd go pick
Yeah.
up the cars
You're
from the
like, man,
dealership.
there's a lot of water under this tent.
So I don't think still even now. You mentioned water. So many people freak out about water on doors or should you get
Oh
water.
yeah.
Like, listen, if you watched a tinner spray down a door and a window, there's plenty of liquid that gets all over every part of that door.
hey,
So
hey,
I've never been concerned. Like we'll do the videos of spraying cleaner as of early, especially early when you and I got together. I would go and spray the buttons of the door with the
oh, you would
cleaner.
just get roasted on the
I
internet.
would, and you'd be like, "Dude," and I'd be like,
You can't just
"What?"
don't
Like,
do it. All I would say
you're
is
like, "Don't do it." I'm like,
just don't
"Ah."
do it.
Like,
Yeah, but no, look, people just they don't know what they don't know. And I'm here to tell you there's a lot of good tint shops that they cover the panels. We cover the panels here if we put tint down. But you're right, 99%. I mean, they're just it's spray away, baby. Let's get this slip on there. Let's get this tint on, especially guys. I mean, look, there's some guys that I know that they'll have a single installer that is doing anywhere between 8 and 12 cars a day. Like they're churning and burning. Like they're doing dealer work and then retail work and it's all the same to them. They're putting the stickers on the windows and they're moving on, baby. And I would say this, all of those things are excellent. You and I have never told people not to get PPF on a car. If you got the money, get PPF on a car. But we have manufacturers of PPF that don't know the science about applying a coating to their PPF to number one, save the PPF, give it, a more of a fighting chance, to allow it to be easier maintained, to allow all these things happen. Look, these are arguments we know manufacturers of film that are calling us to understand coating technology on their film. I'll say this to anybody: do not ever buy ceramic coated infused PPF. It is always the worst product in that company's product line from the most reputable companies. Okay. Apply your own ceramic coating. Okay. You should do that. That's why something like Stack was born. It bonds great, it works easily. You don't have to worry. Now, if you want to go the level of Sparta, go the level of Sparta. There is no harm in it. Okay. But a lot of people, new technology, and none of these are new technologies, but as these become more and more readily available and more people have gotten things like coding, PPF, and tint, one of the things that I think we all need to say is these are all positives. If done properly, if taken care of, they are fantastic for the longevity of your car looking great. So don't run away from it. Just do your best to understand what it is at a high level and don't get caught on these YouTube channels or Instagram or TikTok where people are telling you this is going to, guys, no coding lasts 10 to 20 years. Doesn't happen. Okay. Now, could it last if your car, like my BMW, sits for 2 months? Yeah, I can get some coatings to last. I mean, there's no doubt that car is not going to even see 2,000 miles a year. It'll last. It's in a garage. I got car collections you could put Stack on. They'll never see the light of day. Stack will be on there the rest of its life. You want to know why? It doesn't move. Okay. No heat, no UV, none of that. Right. So you just got to understand the technology and not run away from it. And I get that part is pretty tough.
when you're talking about Stack, and we talked about Wesley earlier, great video inside the specialist group, 8-month update on a leased vehicle, which is great, right?
High mileage. Looks like it's
Yep.
been driven a ton of mileage through a tough winter, not the toughest winter. I understand it's not Alberta or, something like that. But, Tennessee, you know, they get weather. It's driven all the time. But again, let's talk about why it really is reacting like day one. It is cared for, it's maintained, then it's driven again daily, enjoyed as a car should be, but it's protected, it's maintained. You move on, you drive it again, you maintain it, you protect it, you're good to go.
One of the biggest movers right now, I told you, was Trey, right? Trey is
Yeah.
going crazy right now out of HQ. You got a leased car. Somebody's either come to you with a leased car or I'm picking up a leased car. Am I putting Trey on there or am I going to stack it once a year? Ooh, I'm stacking once a year. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think
You might even
that's
stack it.
that's owner to owner though, right? I mean, you're a
Might even
set it and
stack it every
forget it.
6 months, right? Like,
Yeah, if you're set it and forget it and you're like, "Hey man, I just want to get this coating on and I just want to wash my car regularly." tray fits you, right? I mean, because it is just put it on, do your quick polish, whatever you do, lay it down, maintain it, you're going to be good for your 3-year lease, right? The difference is if you're like, man, I kind of like messing around with my car, that's stack, right? But you could still stack your tray. If you still loved messing around with your car, you wanted to look its absolute best, you could lay tray down and every 6 months put stack on it, or every 9 months put stack on it just for something to do. And I think sometimes we don't realize as professionals, that's therapy for a lot of people, man. Some people want to be out hanging out with their car. They want, it doesn't matter that it's a lease. They just take pride in their car. They don't care if it's in perfect shape, of an older car that they've just kept around. And they go, hey, I just want it to look its best, but I'm not going to tear any more paint off the surface and go grind away with a polisher because this is this kind of sensitive now. I've owned it a long time. There's a lot of different out, but a 3-year lease, and I think you and I would say this, you just got to identify who you are. Do you want to set it and forget your coating install, or are you the kind of guy that wants to tinker a little bit? Then you're going to choose stack one way and tray the other.
Well, my buddy Stuart, right? We've talked about it. He goes to a professional detailer to get tray put on. It's exactly what he does, like you said. And then he stacks it, which I talked about earlier, right? Like
Yep.
that's what he does. Like he goes, we've talked about it. It's the detail, what was it? I think he goes by Detail Spa of OKC, like one of those, like he's one of those guys that chose the spa name, right?
Yeah, no,
So
he's
you can
good.
remember
Look,
how long ago he started his business, which is
yeah.
interesting, right? Like when you hear certain names, you go, "Oh, you would have started way back when, right?"
Yeah,
Or
and I think, one of the good things for that is there's so much flexibility with coatings and what you can do inside of our lineup, and that's kind of the point. Okay? Coatings have come a long way. Don't be scared off, which is where this conversation started. Just find what works for you. Put yourself there, but always know that you can be bailed out because stack exists. So, you go 3 or 4 or 6 months where your car wasn't taken care of at a high level. Go ahead and do a thorough wash, thorough decontamination, slap some stack on it. Your tray's good. You don't even need to do that, but just to make yourself feel better, which I know a lot of us at times want to do, you got all kinds of flexibility.
perfect. All right, couple last questions. So we talked about pollen earlier. The other part in spring is we started to see here in Oklahoma is bugs. Bugs are here, and we're going to start talking more and more about bugs as the season progresses. But there was a great question inside the hyperclean specialist group of our bug cleaner. I wanted to know, is our bug cleaner safe on polished aluminum? I don't know too many cars that I've sprayed bug cleaner on the grill or on the side mirrors or the windshield that have polished aluminum. So, you know,
Yeah, I think here's where I would say we have guys that take care of semi front ends that may have aluminum there and not necessarily the wheels. They are very cautious with making sure it doesn't dry, making sure that they watch it, making sure that it's sort of just used as a quick cleaner. This is going to be case by case because what we're seeing with polished aluminum, and I think we're seeing this a lot on wheels, here in Vegas, and I know other guys are bringing it up. There's a quality issue because remember, even with polished aluminum, there's a quality with which wheels can be made, and that aluminum is given more of a chance because it's higher quality made and things aren't as rough on it. But when you get to cheap things, all bets are off. Okay. And that's with any chemical. This isn't just talking about bug. Is when you get to sensitive spots, what I would say is do this in an inconspicuous spot to give yourself a test on what you're working on and then move forward from there.
yeah, I guess that's why I kind of just thought, I naturally, apologies, I naturally go to polished aluminum wheels like you. I just haven't really seen polished. So people are like, wait, you didn't test bug on polished aluminum? I didn't.
Well,
I did
buddy,
not
we
because
don't we
I
don't we
never,
don't
I
come
didn't know
and by the way,
somebody
we
was,
don't come across it. I
yeah,
mean,
I
it's
didn't know
just
somebody was going to spray bug cleaner on polished aluminum. Like,
yeah, it's a great it's a great problem to have. But I would I feel comfortable testing it? I would. But I'm also I imagine if I'm around a lot of aluminum, I'm comfortable polishing aluminum. So I might as well just take the risk real quick.
Yep. All right. Cool updates. I think it's funny. Out of the specialist group, Dale updating us on his progression, and he's saying the boys are back on top.
Everybody go check that post out.
Oh,
We
that's
won't
funny. We
share it
love
here,
Dale.
but yeah,
We
everybody go
love
check
Dale.
that post out.
So, but Dale and others have wanted to know. I got another text today about that hat that you keep wearing. Some others we saw about abrasives. So it is time to give another update. We'll continue almost weekly, more
Yeah, I'll
updates of
say
what's coming
this.
out.
I think this is probably the best way to say it. You're going to see a pretty fast and furious next 60 days. That's our hope. Everybody needs to kind of realize, and we've had to realize, I shouldn't say everyone listening, designers, they work at their own pace. T-shirt shops work at their own pace. Uh, Company internally, things we need to invest in, that's at a different pace. There's certain things we have to do internally now, making so many products that we got to make sure HQ is exactly where it needs to be so we don't have any issues with supply to you guys, right? This is probably a good time to address. The next 60 days are going to be interesting to watch because, folks, the tariff thing is real. Okay. I don't want to get into the political nonsense of it. What I'm telling you is if anybody acts like they know what's going to happen, no one knows. The thing I hate about the tariff thing is I've had way too many goddamn phone calls about the tariffs and how and nobody know. I mean, this started in January, just so everybody knows. So from January to April, when you guys are, can listen to this will be April 8th. From January until now, there's been preemptive conversations about tariffs. Now we're into the let's guess how this is going to affect the next 90 days. So I'm assuming that the first 6 to 8 months of this year, a lot of my personal time is going to be taken up behind the scenes discussing something that I don't even have anything to do with at this point. As not like I made the goddamn legislation. So there's just a lot of things. Look, when you talk about t-shirts and hats, I got news for you. Tariffs are going to make there's going to be a problem here.
Interesting, right? Interesting. So, Kimberly she sent me a message, a couple weeks ago, and then she was like, okay, let me get my order in, right? So
Yeah.
she went ahead and got her Canada order in, new shipment up there in Canada. But what does happen? I told you, price letters we, you got raw manufacturers. Let's throw a name. We've said it before, Dow.
Yep.
Suddenly there's price increases. Interesting,
What?
huh?
And you go, Dow represents to us that it's made in America, right? So one of the things you have to realize is the supply chain of everything. There is no understanding on April 8th of 2025 what is going to happen. So, do I want to get t-shirts out? Do I want to get hats out? Do I want to make sure HQ has everything they need? Yeah, man. This is just kind of a period, but I will say this. Our whole goal is that the next 60 days you guys see a lot of things rolled out, but I want to say this with a caveat. I have no idea what's going to happen for us getting our hands on everything we want to get our hands on because the world doesn't know what's going to happen. So, that's the honest assessment.
We talked about our box manufacturer earlier. We got in our order early before they increased their price. They're here in Tulsa. I can
Yes.
walk everybody right down to them.
Yep.
But it's just part of it. And so I think there's sometimes we get in these moments where we go, hey, price increase, automatic tariff, automatic, like they were. No, I think there's also just part of this moment where let's look around else what's going on. All right. And everybody's going to start raising even another round of price increases.
Yep.
I don't think it's if, and I don't think you can directly assess, oh, well, that means that they bought it from overseas. No, that's not what it means.
No, it
It just
doesn't.
means overall, everybody is now about to go through another
Well,
round of price
we
increase.
and we have certain things in our business of detailing. Let me go ahead and pop the bubble for everybody. There's not a microfiber towel built in America. Okay, so those I can just tell you right now. If this sticks around, you have no idea where that's going to go. This is not a anyone's fault, right? It's just the fact of they don't manufacture towels in America. So it's going to get hit at some point. Now, how long a supply do companies have and how hard they're going to be hit and what happens, or maybe they negotiate with this other government and it takes the tariffs away. Guys, nobody knows. And again, I think it's okay to have these talks publicly and just tell everyone we probably 25 to 30% of our conversations since January have revolved around what if. Now it's happened, what are we going to do? That's from the biggest companies on the planet down to the smallest companies on the planet. So we have had a plan for a very long time that the first 60 to 90 days that we start releasing stuff, which trim cleaner and trim coating was the first, that we were going to have a big 60, 90, 120 days once we started releasing stuff. The tariff stuff hitting, we're going to do our best, right? I have no idea. It may be zero issue. It could be an issue. So we do want to get the apparel out. We got several hats done. We do have banners done, which is another thing that may get hit. Who knows about that? We're using somebody local to me here in Vegas. They assure me we might be all right, but I don't know. So as we do this stuff, guys, we're trying to get out as fast as we can. There isn't an excuse that we're making. We're just saying you probably need to be aware that things are probably, kind of on hold for how everybody thinks this could go. Nobody knows.
Yeah, great point. All right, last question. As a former Jeep owner, this is a would you rather. Here we go. Out of the specialist group, great photo. Listen, Nick, would you rather buy a trim kit from the Duck Yeah store or buy a ducky from the HyperClean store?
No, you got to buy the trim coat. You got to drive buy our trim coating from the Ducky store. That's it. We'll sell it to them. You guys want to be a distributor? Help out your crowd.
All right,
Uh,
Duck Yeah store. Let's go.
yeah, that was a wild post, and I can't believe you got a lot going on in the
Is
Jeep
it real?
community.
Is there really somebody? You talk
God,
about
I hope it.
risk.
I want it to be real.
Oh, really? Like, because it
Yeah,
was
because
literally duckies on the shelf.
look, you
Imagine
got
what
to
I mean.
remember. You got to remember, man. I was a through and through Jeep guy, so watching this shit show of the last 10, 12 years of the Jeep world, you gotta burn it to the ground. You can only rebuild if it burns to the ground, Marty. We gotta get the Jeep community rebuilt from the ground up, have some OGs in there that go, "This is just stuff we don't do." Then
Go back to
rebuild
the
it
two
when you're done.
door? No way.
Hey, well, no,
No
because there's
way.
there's there's too many soccer moms that want to drive a Jeep around. Hey, we had perfect weather out this weekend here. I saw a Bronco that didn't take his top off, which
Terrible.
I don't know why you don't take your top. If
Terrible.
it's perfect weather, that's why you bought it. Then I saw a convertible C6 Corvette, the red and brown, with the brown top. Guys next to me at the light, top up. Buddy, you only get so many days.
Hmm.
Like, you took it out of the garage. You might as well put the top down. I don't know. So
Couldn't
yeah,
mess
that's
up
just
his
stuff
hair,
that I
man.
noticed.
Couldn't mess up his hair. You know the story of why the Duck Duck started the Duck Duck Jeep? It was like some lady trying to help somebody raise some money for cancer or something. It was like
I,
it, it
I'm
was
all
some
for
cool
that.
thing like
Look,
that. It
I'm
was
all
some
for it.
awareness thing, and then that's why it exploded. You go,
Yeah.
cool,
You know what
you
we
know.
used to do back in my day? You just waved at a Jeep owner. That's it. We were gentlemen. Now you guys just took it to the whole another level.
Isn't it terrible? People will go put a duck, but it won't wave anymore. I just don't
Yeah,
understand
give them the
non
peace
Jeep
sign. Hey,
wavers.
peace sign, no ducky.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next time.
All right, guys.